Hello and welcome to another episode of Freshly Spoiled with Monique and Ryan.
Hi.
What did we see?
Gladiator II.
Gladiator II.
Yeah.
That's right. Saw it yesterday.
Yeah.
Matinee.
Matinee. So I didn't fall asleep.
AMC plus matinee. I feel like you don't get your money's worth when you go see a matinee with that.
With what?
When you get the AMC thing.
Oh.
Because you're getting a discounted price, but
Yeah.
it's a free ticket.
Yeah.
Anyway, so.
Well, you bought one for me, so I got a discounted
price.
price.
But then you Venmo'd me.
I
So
know.
yeah, so, right, so you got it discounted. I'll say it again. That wouldn't have gone to see this movie.
I wouldn't have seen it in the theaters, but I was interested. I mean, it was so long ago that the original movie came out.
Yeah.
And I did see that movie. I liked it. I like movies like that.
Yeah, I remember liking it, but I also
Yeah.
I also think, like, is that one of the movies that didn't hold up? Like 300.
If you watched it now.
Yeah, like,
Oh.
would I be
Do you
as
remember
interested?
Beowulf?
Beowulf?
Yeah, do
No.
you remember that? I think that was Angelina Jolie was in that.
Mm-mm.
I don't know. That was an old
Another
movie too.
epic type of
Yeah,
thing?
epic movie. It was different, like a different storyline, but I don't know. It just clicked when you said, "Would it hold up?" And because the graphics of that movie probably, I'm
Weren't good.
curious. Yeah.
Mm.
Well, then it was, but now I'm
Right.
like,
Yeah.
how would it look? Anyway.
So I thought to myself, so I knew I wanted to watch this movie, and I thought if I have any chance of liking it, this feels like a movie that if you're going to see it, you should see it in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
So I started.
They even thanked us for in the opening, like before the
Yeah.
movie started. They were like, "Thank you for coming to the
Yeah.
theater and watching it. We
Pedro
appreciate
Pascal
it."
and what's his name? The star of the thing.
Yeah.
I love him.
I know.
Mescal. Paul Mescal.
Paul Mescal.
Yeah.
And
then the other guy who played one of the emperors.
Well, there was Denzel. There was.
Denzel wasn't one of the three that thanked us for coming to the theater to watch it.
Oh.
Three white-looking guys.
Oh.
It was.
I don't know who the other one was.
Yeah,
then.
it was one of the guys. It was one that played the older of
Not
the
Matt
emperors.
Lucas.
Not Matt Lucas. No.
He should have
That
been on
was
the
a
poster.
delight.
Oh, I was so excited.
What a surprise to see Matt Lucas show
I was
up.
like,
For anyone that might not know, the guy the very pale, bald guy who was one of the hosts of Great British Baking Show and one of the roommates in Bridesmaids,
Yep.
right? Just such a comedic figure that you don't see him. He almost takes you out of it a
Yeah.
little bit. Like,
Yeah.
hey, that's that guy. But he's an actor. Like, he's a working actor,
I
and
know.
so like, why wouldn't you know? And he had a look that was interesting. He has a look that's interesting for a role like that.
yeah. The two brothers, the emperor,
emperors,
I guess, they had that look too. They made
Yeah,
those two look
right.
like how he
But they were
did with
definitely
the
made
makeup.
up. Like they when we first saw them, they had so much makeup
Yeah.
on to look pale, and
Yeah.
it's weird that was like a thing back then. It was to like look.
Ill.
Yeah,
I mean, weren't you guys already fighting off disease and sickness like
yeah,
constantly? You're
Yeah.
like, let's just make us look a little worse.
yeah. Maybe that's why they did it, to be like, oh, they won't know that we're actually sick.
Yeah.
Like they're in a position of power, so they can't look sick. So it's like, no, it's just makeup.
It's on purpose.
So if they walk out looking like shit, they're like, oh, it must be more of that makeup. And they're like, yeah, it's the
Yeah.
makeup. It's the makeup. So yeah, I was happy we saw it in the theater, and again, enjoyed it way more than I was thinking. And I think the issue is, I think I like a lot of movies. Like, I would like more movies that I don't have an interest in going to see. And I'm kind of a simp for movies. As much as I act like, like you point out, like, snobby about movies, if it's decent, I will like it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it was. It wasn't like one of those artistic movies by any means, but it's like, okay, yeah, it was just so impressive. The feat of making a movie like that is just unbelievable. Just
So many people involved,
Right.
Like like just background actors in the Coliseum.
yeah, right.
That was crazy.
Yeah, everywhere. The town, the soldiers, right? Like when they showed the soldiers.
The shoulders, yeah.
the ships coming in, the amount of
Yeah.
ships that there were, and who knows how much of that is CGI. Like the ships in
True.
the back that look like they have people on it might not have existed. Um,
But it looked impressive.
it looked impressive, and the last battle scene with all the people on horses coming in from both sides, like, again, who knows how much of that is CGI, but I just, on the heels of going to see A Real Pain, which is like this minimal, like you could picture just one guy with a camera and a boom mic just following these two around, shooting this whole movie, like on set. You think that must have cost, I don't even know where the money goes to, the actors obviously, but I'm like, the technical part of that movie is $100,000 and it's done,
Right.
like fully shot and
Yeah.
edited and printed, and it's done. And compared to this, just behemoth of a production, behemoth, what a behemoth. I may be too stupid to be doing this. So, but it's like, and I didn't enjoy this movie that much more. You know what I mean? Like the money didn't correlate to me. Like I like the movie, but when I think about like, we want to make this movie, and you're going to sink all this money into it, and it's like, all right, but it wasn't better than a real pain. Like it's a different whole thing. You have to, and you're gonna, if you make this movie, you got to make it.
You have
to do
yeah.
all this stuff.
Yeah.
But if I'm a filmmaker, to be like, all right, do I want to tell a story about two Jews going to Poland, or do I want to think about how we got to costume 1,000 people, and we got to
recreate the whole world pretty much, because you're not just filming now, like in this day and age type of thing.
Yeah.
I like that. One of the main characters was that little monkey. I forgot the name, but the Emperor's little pet.
He ended up assigning him like a real position in the, the Empire.
He was one. He was number one.
The second in command was
to Denzel.
Denzel's character. I try to call people by the character name.
I was just about to say that's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen here.
Just like,
names. I'm bad at names in real life. Like people introduce myself. You're like, it's not going to stick.
Yeah.
I'm going to be asking you again what your name is.
Yeah.
They say the trick is to imagine writing their name on their forehead, like in real life. If like somebody meets somebody and like, hey, my name is Joseph.
Just carry around a marker.
Like you're just like,
oh hi, okay.
well, you don't actually do it. So you look at them and you just like imagine, oh hi Joseph, and like you look at their forehead and you imagine writing the name on their forehead, and then they kind of like, I've never done it.
It's just going to be a thing now. I meet people and I look up at their forehead. They're like, what's
and
wrong with this woman?
Can I help you? Like, just remembering your name.
I guess that's why like name tags exist, right?
It should be more prevalent in the world. Name tags.
Yeah.
Just out in the world.
It's common.
Yeah.
Then you have like weirdos being like, "Hey, Ryan."
Yeah.
And you're like,
I'm not glad you know me. I'm like, what? Don't touch that. So just super impressive, and I found myself thinking about that a lot in the movie, which is not why I like movies generally. I don't like to consider, the production of it, but I kept thinking about, man, the money, the hours, the production, and it kind of takes me away from just watching the story. But that's my production mind. Like I'm a producer by nature, so I'm constantly thinking about the logistics of things, rather than letting myself just get lost in the world. I'm always like thinking about how do they get that? Like I'm, eternity away from knowing how to do that stuff, but I have an interest in that stuff, so I lose myself in the technicality, the technical aspect of filmmaking. But I mean, what were your thoughts? Did you like it?
Yeah, I liked it. It was fun. I mean, it kind of like they went back to parts of the original movie, like they did flashbacks, and I'm like, I don't really even remember that. And it was the main part where Maximus, I guess, died, and I was like, oh, yeah, I guess I
didn't remember. I saw the movie once years ago,
Yeah.
like not in the theater, but shortly after when it was on maybe VHS, DVD, I don't know, and not since. So I didn't expect to remember anything, and I was concerned, do I need to
Yeah.
go like we
Do we need to revisit this?
we're gonna
before
watch Dune 2 coming up because
Yeah.
that's gonna be nominated
Right.
for some stuff, and I'm like, okay, I never even saw Dune 1, so I'm like, I guess I should watch Dune 1. But
And that's a big
also feel
investment too to watch the whole thing.
but I do feel like if you're nominating a movie by itself, that movie
It
should
should be
stand
standalone,
alone.
yeah.
Like I
Agreed.
shouldn't need to have watched the movie if you're nominating. So maybe I shouldn't watch the first one to get an honest view as to like, is this movie good by itself? That's my way of talking myself out of having to sit through Dune, the first Dune. Because I think when they made it, the whole point was like that wasn't a sequel. Dune 2 is not a sequel. It's it's the full telling of the story, like Wicked. Like they intended for it to be 2 parts.
Oh.
So that is cause
Okay.
for concern about maybe I won't understand it because it's not like this movie kind of stands alone. Like they do reference things, but they let you know everything you need to know from the first one to understand it. But like I said, I was worried that do I need to go back and watch the first one to understand this, and I didn't, and I think it was fine. You know, I think I didn't even remember that he died, so I was like, okay, this makes sense.
Yeah, same.
And like, was the kid in that first one? Like, was that scene actually in the first movie? I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
Yeah.
But it didn't matter. It worked.
Yeah, it didn't matter. It worked.
The fight scenes were cool. They weren't as brutal. I know you were a little skeeved, but they weren't as brutal as I was expecting them to be. I thought they were going to be like more gore.
Yeah.
But still like with the monkeys, like when they went out and they fought the monkeys, like I'm still like, I don't know, like I don't like I know they're fake, but I don't like watching animals fight. I don't like watching humans kill or hurt like even fake CGI monkeys. But watching it, they still looked fake to me. I'm surprised at how
bad that looked.
It didn't look bad,
Well,
but it looked like.
My question
fake.
are they a monkey that exists in the real world?
I mean-
They didn't look like a monkey that I've ever known in my life. Are they extinct?
I don't know. I don't know.
You know what I mean? Like maybe I don't. You always see these animals that exist. Like I only heard of a capybara. Was that word like like a year ago? So I didn't know that animal existed. So if I was just showing a picture, I'm like, oh, it's a made-up animal. You know what I mean? And that was like the most popular animal on the internet.
But I'm not saying it didn't look real because of like structurally. I'm just saying like
it was bad
animated.
CGI on top of it.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Like it didn't.
But I
it
did
looked bad.
appreciate him biting the monkey,
Yeah.
and then them not really making fun of him, but like they were all sitting at the table and
And
like
he laughed. Yeah. And a lesson in life, I mean, is to laugh at that stuff. Like you're watching him and you're wondering how is he going to
Is he
receive
gonna,
this?
yeah,
Is he
be
going to
like,
get angry? But if you laugh along with everybody else, that cools.
now you're in on it.
You're in on it.
Yeah.
Like that's just take that lesson in life and just laugh at things that people would, if they're making fun of you. Yeah, I know, it's stupid,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That all the
Takes the
power,
power,
all the
yep.
power goes away from them, and it's like, yeah, I get it too. That was funny.
Yeah.
Remember when I bit that monkey? But what would you have done? Like I won.
Yeah.
I think the thing was funny too how there was a bunch of monkeys and there was a bunch of men fighting monkeys, and he wasn't the only one who survived. It wasn't like he was like the one man standing.
Right.
But like, why was they so taken by him? Like, there was 4 other guys that beat
know.
the monkeys. So why not be impressed by them?
Yeah.
They didn't get to the point where they even needed to eat a monkey.
Yeah.
Like they just beat him on brute force.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I feel that thought was kind of going through my brain even in the beginning. But it's a movie and it has to be about something and it has to be about somebody to make it worth watching. But like even like his story, I'm like, well, why? Like I'm sure there's so many people here. Yeah, like half of these people had loved ones that just died.
Yeah,
that
right.
why am I caring about this person?
Well, they
'Cause
explained
you
it a
have
little
to.
bit in the beginning when that first, I don't know who he was. He seemed like he was in charge, the black guy. And it was like, you came to us with nothing and you followed everything that we taught you. So you got the idea that he was special somehow in that way. So they kind of painted him a little bit from the beginning like he was special, but you never really understood why. But yeah, like there were guys that were,
the prince.
it turned out why, but he didn't know that. Like
No.
that wasn't
But
the
they
reason why.
sensed that, like
I guess, yeah. But yeah, there were guys that were way bigger than him, way stronger than him, and you just think like, and I think the same thing. Every time there's those scenes where like a bunch of people are dying, and we're supposed to care because the protagonist is surviving. It's like I have a hard time just caring about this one person. It's like I'm a communist. You know what I mean? I'm a social, you know.
What about the whole?
Yeah, it's like part of me that I'm not super stoked that this one guy is surviving through this. Like I can't help but think of that there's 1,000 people just died. And I'm a little bit more upset about that than the one guy you're showing me has made it. But that's what it is. That's the whole movie telling. The storytelling is you follow the protagonist and you care about them and you. But I definitely do lose myself and being like, when there's a big war scene, I'm like, oh, so many people are gonna die.
Yeah.
No, I don't care. Like I know, like he's gonna win. Like you knew going into it, he's gonna survive this
Yeah.
battle. But I'm like, I don't care that much. Just save everybody. Have nobody die.
Nobody
And that's
died.
why I love the last scene. I love that they were like they stopped the battle before it started. Like it was just these two are gonna fight, which is
Yeah,
what every
yeah.
war should be. It should be like the two leaders. Like you guys care so much, you fight. Like don't make these people fight.
Yeah.
Like you
It
guys
was-
have this your ego banging against each other, or you think there's like, or you pick one person that you think they're going to represent our country and they represent our country, and have them fight to the death. It's like we don't need to lose thousands of people here.
Yeah.
You know?
And immediately all the people on the horses were like, oh yeah, actually, we want to change. Yeah. Like, and
It's like none of us want to die. Like
Yeah.
none of them want to go to battle.
Yeah.
It's like they're probably like, oh, sick, they're gonna fight.
Yeah, fine,
Like,
go
sick.
for it.
Like yeah. They're all like they all want that one guy to fight because they know if he wins, then he's gonna squash the whole thing. It's funny using modern terms now.
Squash.
Yeah. And those terms.
would they say pack
Yeah.
pack
When
your stuff
Denzel
up?
told that one guy that he won he's like, I own your house, and he told him he goes now pack. I was like, that's a super modern term for. I don't know if they would have thrown the word pack around. Like I don't know what it is. Something about that term. Like I said they would have said, now gather your belongings and make off. Whatever they say.
Make haste.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just like pack.
Yeah.
And I was like, Denzel, I go, pack your shit, homie, get out of here.
He throws it on the
Yeah.
out the door. But I did hear that before I watched the movie. That was the one thing I did hear. It was like people saying, "Oh, like Denzel is just like he didn't even
He's just Denzel
try
in
with
this.
his accent or anything like that." But so I was going into that expecting that, but I'm like, the other guy, Pascal,
Pedro Pascal?
Pedro? Yeah.
Or, yeah.
Pedro, he didn't try with an accent either, right? It was
No,
just his
none
voice.
of them really did. Paul Mescal and Pedro Pascal and
Yeah.
Denzel.
I'm like, so they all just went
Washcal.
in. That was part of the hiring process.
Yeah, and I don't. That doesn't bother me that much. Because they're not speaking the language that anybody was speaking.
No.
Then.
And
so
it's always
unless you're doing that
to
and
an
they're
English
making it
accent,
right.
no matter where.
Yeah.
Like,
But Denzel didn't do that, and it's like
No.
I don't need you to do that
No.
because we're all making pretend.
Mm-hmm.
Like unless you're gonna go full bore and everybody's gonna speak the language and it's gonna be subtitled.
I loved
If you're not
his
doing that-
his costume.
So much
Drapage
but so much like adjusting
Yeah.
of all
I
that
loved it
material.
though. I
Like
thought it
gathering,
worked.
gathering the
Yeah,
material,
gathering
and like
the material,
yeah,
and it was
yeah.
I loved it.
So that was one of the things. Is that one of the reasons why we watch it was he's getting talked for being best supporting actor in this. Justified.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm so bad with the topics of this stuff. Like, I'm watching these movies, but I don't know like the categories or why. And
Well, you know what
Yeah,
best,
I-
you know what
no,
acting is.
I
right?
know.
This is a supporting actor.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like fine.
Disagree. Hard disagree.
But like, what is it compared to? Like other movies that like
Well, I haven't
are
seen
out?
the movies yet, but I was not. I was taken. He took me out of the movie more than I believed in.
Yeah, but I feel like that was the
was-
whole movie. Like, it wasn't him. It was the whole. I mean, for me, I'm not speaking
Yeah.
for you, but like what you were saying about Matt Lucas and just
Yeah.
other things like
Yeah.
the brothers. Like I thought even were just not.
Yeah.
I don't want to say believable, but you're looking at this guy and he's like such a little baby and a drama king. It's like
Yeah.
all right.
That was, I didn't think. I thought that Paul Mescal was a great actor in this, and he wasn't. He's not nominated for best actor. To me, that was the acting role.
Oh.
Like I don't know. I enjoyed his performance, but I think maybe I'm a real fan of his. So
So for this movie, there was no there was only supporting actor, not best
Well,
actor.
they would nominate him. Like he was the lead actor, but he wasn't nominated. He's not being talked about for best actor
Oh,
in a leading role. It's only Denzel's getting best supporting actor.
okay.
And my criticism is I don't think the same with Kieran Culkin. Is I think you hire Denzel when you need somebody to do what Denzel does, and I think that's the same thing here. I think
Okay.
he does a lot of the same. He was Denzel in
Yeah.
this role,
Yeah. For
and
sure.
I think it worked for the role. That character was good. Everything he did worked for that role. But I'm like, okay, but this is Denzel doing what Denzel does. This is not a guy who is integrating into a world and acting a certain way. So same criticisms I have, like, is that best acting or is that best casting? Or is the fact that he
Right.
does what he does so well in that role, is that good?
Is there a
that
best casting?
No, there's no.
category?
I always thought there should be. There should be best casting, like overall casting.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there isn't. There's also no best kiss, so that's too
Really?
good. Yeah, like the MTV Movie Awards do best kiss. So yeah, I love Paul Mescal. I think he's great. He bulked up quite a bit for this movie. I don't know if you haven't seen much of what he'd done before, but he wasn't like a big guy.
He didn't
He's
have a
pretty,
thick neck.
Yeah, he definitely hit the gym for this. Not that he was huge, but he's not. He wasn't. Wasn't ever that big. Pedro Pascal he's known as like the new hot guy. I prefer Paul Mescal myself. I'm more of if you put those two up against each other, I'm like, I'm picking Paul Mescal every time. I don't know.
Oh, Team Paul.
Yeah, he's got a sweet look to him. He's got a yeah, but overall I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the story of it, and I thought it was interesting. It was like somewhat predictable at times, but the way they wove it in, I looked up to see if there was any allegory undertones with this movie, because like I was seeing them, but I didn't know if that was intentional. I didn't know if it was talked about. Usually, if that's it, if they're there, then they get talked about pretty. What was that movie like? Mother? You watch Mother? I think it was a Darren Aronofsky movie. It was kind of a horror movie. I thought
Yeah.
maybe you would have watched it because
Yeah, I don't know.
and everybody said it was essentially just an allegory for like religion or like the Bible. I didn't see it, but when things like that, when they're very obvious, they get talked about commonly. So I was wondering if this was kind of like a telling of our current state, just in those times. Like there was a lot of things that mirrored our state, like the way Denzel wanted to perpetuate the war. He wanted to keep the emperors in power for his own sake, and he thwarted their plans to overthrow the empire, knowing that's the right thing to do, knowing that would bring
Right.
peace to Rome. He thought, if I can keep the war going, then like I benefit
He'll-
because my
rank will go
warriors,
up.
my gladiators will continue to fight. I can't have this world go away. This is how I make my living, is with the battles, and I make money through my gladiators. So like to me, he was like the media of like the people coming together to know we want peace. We don't want to be at war with each other, but the media keeps thwarting any progress,
Yeah.
and it's like for his own personal gain. Like there's just a lot of that. There's it's the one side wants peace, and where nothing's changed. There's the people in power that want what they want. They want this to keep their power and to be their greed, and not to give the people what they want. And we don't have the power to overthrow it. There's knives at our necks at all times, and it's that's just the nature of. And it's always so curious to me that what keeps them in power is like literally just weapons pointed at the public's face at all time. If you try to overthrow us, we'll kill you.
Right.
And the idea of it always comes down to the people that have to enforce those rules, and if the enforcers of the
Right.
people in power
They're
will
just
get
like-
together and be like, we're not fighting your wars.
Mhm.
The soldiers are the people. They are the people of Rome. They want a better Rome as well.
Yeah.
They're just following the lead,
Mm-hmm.
and they feel like they are not in the power to stand up. But they all want the same thing. They all want to overthrow the emperors because they know they're shitty, but they can't, because if you turn to the guy next to you and be like, hey, why don't we start a revolt and not do what these two idiots want us to do and do what the people want us to do? All that takes is one guy to be like, oh, they're trying to fuck you over, and now you're dead because you had an idea to bring peace to Rome.
Yeah.
So it's always the enforcers, and it's the same thing with cops these days. Like Patrice O'Neill used to talk about this all the time, was that it's the soldiers. Like you tell cops, this is your job, go arrest these people for doing this, whether or not you believe that that's illegal or not. It's like, if you're following through the law, then you're just as bad as the person who's making the laws. Like, just don't enforce it. Like, if you don't believe in something, don't enforce it. Like, yeah, there are laws that we need to have enforced, and there's safety measures that we need to follow, but
Yeah.
not every law. If you feel like, before weed was legal, if you were like, yeah, if I see somebody smoking weed, I don't think it's a big deal.
Mhm.
I'm not arresting you. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Don't. And the same thing with soldiers. Like, if you don't believe in a war, if all the soldiers got together but it had to be from both sides, and be like, yeah, we don't.
There has to be solidarity.
Yeah, like we don't believe in this war, so we're
Yeah.
not fighting your war for you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
They said that like in one of the scenes, I forget what was happening, but somebody walked into the court and they were addressing the emperors, and they were like, "Oh, it's like they were in a position of power too, but they looked to them and be like, oh, like I'm here to serve like the people, like I am one of the people."
Yeah.
So yeah, kind of they're in charge, but they still
Yeah.
are working for the people, and
Yeah, then you see what happened with the Pedro Pascal character. He was in a position where he knew that his men were behind him, and whatever he told them to do, they would do.
Yeah.
So they got to the point, okay, now, yes, we're all in agreement. Now let's overthrow this empire. And all it takes is one greedy guy to catch word of it and be like, they're trying to fuck you over.
Well, it's funny because Denzel's character, like, he knew it. Like, he figured it out. He
Right.
connected the dots as to the lineage and all
Yeah.
that stuff. But I thought the funny scene was when Pascal and his Pedro's wife, I guess,
Yeah.
were talking, and then the woman, the maid woman,
Yeah.
was standing behind the
Yeah.
wall, like, eavesdropping, and then
Yeah.
she, like, quickly, like, ran back. That was just a funny scene to see her do that, but also I was like, was she part of it? Did she tell him?
So I was wondering, is that how word got back to that weird guy that Denzel was gambling against?
That's
is
what
that
I'm.
how he
That's what
heard
I'm
of it?
thinking. Yeah.
Or was he in that meeting? Remember when they were down in the basement? I always thought it was funny. Remember that rock that she would push and then go into the basement?
Yeah. I was like, that's very advanced.
Yeah,
like,
like,
this
where are
is
the
some, like-
electronics in that rock that like you just push that in? And
you push it and it was like,
and
chuck, chuck, choo.
not just the
It,
fact that you
moved.
push it in, but the fact that it really comes back
Yeah,
out. Like
yeah.
it doesn't just like once it's
Yeah.
pushed in, just
It
stays
had like
there.
gears and cogs and like
Yeah,
all
I
this
was
like.
like, that's interesting. I was trying to think if that guy was in that meeting. There was a guy that looked kind of weird, but I couldn't tell it was the same guy
Yeah.
in that meeting where they all agreed that they would try to overthrow Rome.
Yeah.
Or was it that maid who overheard it and went back and told?
I know, 'cause they
But
made
why
a
would
point-
But why would she tell? Because she benefits by Rome being free, though. So why would she want to? When she gets paid, when she
I
gets
know,
paid
but-
out for
but-
information.
I feel like, in a way, people, like, even the people, right? Like, we could uprise at any moment
Yeah.
and live a better life and have freedom and all this stuff. But, like, there is something of somebody having power over you that, like, holds you back. And you're just like, okay, if I just go along with this,
Yeah.
my life will be okay. It'll be
Yeah.
fine enough.
Yeah.
I don't need to, like, cause any waves. Yeah.
Yeah, because if you try to overthrow something like that, like you will die. Like if we decided now we want to take the government back and we want to, we want to start electing people that care about the actual people, Like they're supposed to be representing us, but they're not. They're always representing just, billionaires and their own people and their own interests. Side issue. This is not a political podcast, but I feel like I don't care what side you're on. I feel like you understand that's the truth.
Yeah.
But if you decide we want to do something about it, like people will die. Like if we decide like to brute force take back like there's too many of us that they couldn't hold us back, but they will get some of us. And it's like I don't want to be the one of the people that they get. So let's just carry on and I got a pretty comfortable life. Things are not that bad. I can buy my shit from Amazon and I can eat, whatever. So it's like good enough.
Right. You appease the people that are like more in power and who would, oh, okay, your allegiance. All right, here's some crumbs. All right.
Yeah. But even like the small ups, I think of like, Denzel having the power over his little community there. Like they could just take the power from him for sure. Like you got old people around you that are way stronger than you.
I was just gonna say, like that's wild that you have these like killing machines and they're just like, yeah, well,
and it's just because one guy has a power, it's like it's
a
like
mental thing.
It's a mind thing. It's like they just like have to get control over. Think like, no, I'm in charge. Just like at the end when he was like, I'm the Prince of Rome, and like he has to fight to the death. Like they don't do any research. They don't have blood tests back then.
No.
They're just believing that this is him, and like now you're following this guy's orders because.
Well, the statue. Remember the statue?
Yeah.
He looked just like.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
They're like, oh, okay, right. I see it.
But it is also to a point where, like, okay, if this guy is trying to free Rome, then we don't really care if he is the lineage, but like we're down to follow this guy. Yeah, like we like this idea. Really interesting too about how he wanted. So all he wanted was to kill Pedro Pascal.
Yes.
Like he just wanted that guy killed my wife, or he ordered my wife dead. What do you want? You want to do to make me feel better? Get me that guy's head. Like I want to kill him. And so quickly he changed.
Yes.
Like, he had him in his sights.
He could have
like,
done
I could have killed him.
And he was like, nah.
And he's
Denzel's like, but I did this for you. I got him right there.
And he's like, I make my own decisions. Yeah, that was great. And I was questioning, like, he seemed like a guy that like would have just wanted to kill him no matter what. But he is a sensible person, and he would consider the whole picture, and where he was like, I loved your father and I loved your mother, and that was enough for him to be like, yeah, I guess like you were in a similar position than I am. You were just taking orders, and you were kind of this, a puppet to the empire just as well as.
They showed that right at the beginning. His kind of empathy for the people. Like he's like, yeah, I have to do this. I have to take this land. I have to bring you guys as
I didn't
slaves.
pick up on that. Yeah,
I did. Yeah, like when he was just like kind of apathetic about it. He was just like, yes, brand them or whatever.
Yeah.
And then he walked off kind of sullenly back to the ship.
Right.
Like I was like, oh, okay. You could tell. All right,
I could see why you'd read it that way. I read it differently, but looking back now, yes, that makes sense. I think I just read it as like almost like uncaring, like kind of. It's wild too to think that you could be in your home on land with the castle and all your resources that you need, and then there's ships coming at you, and the ships can be powerful enough and have enough weaponry and arms to overtake you from the water. Like that's
wild.
That's an impressive feat. Like that, whether or not they're better trained, but you think the people that are on land with, infinitely more resources would be at an advantage. Like, no, we're just a way more powerful army. We're going to take you over.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they had the same technology. It wasn't like because you were on land you had more.
Right.
They had the fire cannons and they had the arrows, and they were just going back and forth with each other. It's wild to me that like we did that, like we fought.
I wonder because the only
it seems
knowledge
like
I have
that's good enough.
The only knowledge I have of that is
that
movies. So you just imagine like that's.
Yeah.
So I would love to see what that actually looked like in life, like were the boats as detailed, was the big things on the front of them, big like eagle on the front of the ship, and what they had.
I mean, but we talked about this not too long ago about like architecture and the time and the dedication to beauty and detail and art,
Yeah, no,
and how that
yeah.
has been lost. So I don't know. I feel like maybe
Well,
that's,
would they put that much detail into a ship that would most likely be
probably though,
be
because
destroyed?
I feel like I could be wrong, but I feel like most of the time on the ship, it's about image.
Yeah.
So here I am.
Right.
We're coming. And most of the time on the ship was travel. It wasn't like fighting. I mean,
Right.
like I said, I could be
Yeah.
wrong, but I feel like that was just like one.
Maybe the 10 most forward ships had all that stuff on it, and the ones in the back were like just some real, just brute. Yeah. It's like, yeah, don't pay attention to the ones by, this is our
That
showing
doesn't
of force.
represent
Like,
us.
this is what we look like, yeah.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed it, yeah. It's not, I would never vote for it for Best Picture. It was, a little more popcorny, candy movie to me. But I enjoyed my time at the movie theater.
I'm also curious if they really were able to fill the Coliseum with water, like if that ever happened, or if that was just for the movie.
Oh, yeah, that had to be just made for the
You
movie.
think?
I don't think they had water sealing technology
Okay.
back then, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and like they got the great white sharks and
Yeah,
they threw them in
no,
the.
I think
okay,
that's all,
that's
yeah.
just
Because how would they have
fantasy.
transported?
Okay.
How would they have caught a shark and then transported it?
Okay.
And then,
Well, they were right on the ocean.
yeah, right. But they didn't have now you see how they transport, like they get those
Yeah.
trucks that
Yeah.
scoop the thing out.
Yeah.
I don't think that's.
Okay.
I mean, listen, how'd the pyramids get there? Nobody knows. So who knows? They did some amazing things back then. They made buildings, and I don't think we're capable of making a coliseum today that looks like that. But that's just out of laziness and greed. Gladiator II.
Yeah.
That's to me was a great example of movies. Losing yourself in a movie, in a world. I don't need it. It's not my type of movie, but they did what they did well. Like
Yeah.
they spared no expense to keep us entertained for 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Good chat.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. See you next time for the next movie.